Right, there's a few spin agains, but we'll see how long it takes to get not one of those. What do we want?
Go.
How about Papua New Guinea? Oh. Well, there we go.
Last time out, we spun the wheel on the letter P and landed on Papua New Guinea. So today we have Chef Ben and Normal Jamie, who will be undertaking 2 of Papua New Guinea's national dishes. Where is Papua New Guinea?
We know that bit.
Just above Australia, and when I say just, probably thousands of miles away in reality.
And next door to Indonesia.
Indonesia, it's kind of in between Indonesia and Fiji.
So what sort of cuisine are you thinking just on its geographical location?
Very, very Southeast Asian.
What I would say is only a couple of spins ago, we did Micronesia, which is literally just there. So I feel like similar influences in flavours and ingredients, which is what we see in front of us.
So we've given you everything that you need to complete dish 1, but in order to make it extra organised fun, we're also going to give you a series of lifelines to use so you can get as close as possible, so we get a real insight into what these dishes look like.
This is why we haven't done one of these videos in 8 months. It's because they've been working up different ways to make it more fun.
So your lifelines are Chef SOS. If you choose to use that, then Kush will come down and help you for 5 minutes. He knows the recipe inside out. You also have the ability to unpixelate the image of the dish, so you can see what it should look like. And finally, if you choose to use it, you can have a redacted recipe. So a simplified recipe of how to make either of the dishes. You've got 3 lifelines to use across the 2 dishes.
That was my next question, excellent.
And dish number 1 is called mumu.
Mumu.
Which is both a dish and a method.
And confusing in that there is a chicken and there is pork, but there is no beef.
So you're already against the recipe?
No, I'm just saying it's called mumu and there's no cow.
Oh, I see. The rest of us were just playing catch up there.
Mumu has been passed down through generations, having begun with indigenous tribes who would prepare meals communally. And large preparations of this dish would require teamwork and help build bonds between tribe members, which is often still the case today. And your very first step is prepare your mumu ingredients.
Excellent.
Cut them into bite-sized pieces.
Talk us through it, Jay.
We've got a whole chicken, we've got pork belly slices, we've got kale, sweet potatoes, lime, pineapple, coconut milk, pepper, and what is that?
That is taro root. Here is a pixelated image of the final dish. Well, for you at home, this is what it should look like.
Anyone.
But what it does look like is it's got brown around the outside, so it's possibly like en papillote, like the French term of cooking stuff in a steam bag, but the steam bag is banana leaf, which he's already told us that's that. But then we've got all these flecks of
pixels,
pineapple, sweet potato, taro, kale, and meat.
Let's cut some things into smaller things.
So taro, Ebbers, you're a chef.
Yeah, well, it's part of the yam. My understanding is it's part of the yam family, but it's a specific yam and therefore taro.
How does it behave?
I think it's one of those ones you absolutely have to cook because of cyanide. I'm going to cut them quite small so that the whole thing cooks relatively quickly. That may or may not be the traditional sense, but we know the same rule applies for many things.
If you're thinking about how these things are usually cooked, hot stones, very sort of rustic preparation. Obviously, we've got a fully functioning kitchen, but perhaps try and err on the side of what would Papa do?
Now, what's already, I think, quite unusual is the combination of pineapple as a cooked, almost stewed thing. We do use pineapple in a lot of savoury cooking, in a lot of recipes we're familiar with, but not necessarily the sort of long, slow cook. The only pub trivia I have of Papua New Guinea, which literally came up in a quiz question a couple of months ago, was I think it's the country with the most official languages.
Oh, what a great fact.
We did not get that correct in the pub quiz.
Sense check that.
Sense check it, but I think it's crazy number. Do you reckon, Jay, this is just, and we have the option of a redacted thing, a chef or whatever, do you think it is just mix it all up in a bowl with enough? There will be moisture that will come out of this as it cooks.
Yep.
A little bit of coconut milk, some seasoning, salt and pepper to bind, squeeze of lime, maybe the zest of lime, and then just wrap what is quite a dry mix up in banana leaf.
So it steams.
So it half, because if it's too wet, I don't think you want to cook a soup and a stew in banana leaf.
No.
But enough moisture to bind it all.
Something stewy could make sense because that feels like the one pot
Yeah.
kind of over a fire or in the hot coals kind of vibe to it. Serving that in banana leaf though, yeah, you wouldn't want it
Cooking
too
it in
wet.
banana
Yeah.
leaf.
Yeah, but what cooking method would tend to be synonymous with papillote?
A softer fish, vegetables, things that want to be steamed, generally in
Steamed.
French cooking. Whereas if you're saying this is hot coals, this is still getting up to a high temperature. The banana leaf is going to protect that, it's going to impart some flavour, but we're going to have to be very careful the way we wrap it to make sure it doesn't leak. I imagine the kind of family style cooking, gathering communities is the key to these classic national dishes.
I am obsessed with the videos online of tribes people cooking up enormous batches of food for the people that live in their villages.
Yeah.
Just the volume, but also the ability to eyeball massive amounts of ingredients and it look and appear to taste phenomenal. I can give you the next step, which is line your vessel and layer your ingredients. The layering is very important.
We've chopped everything up. It feels like everything's prepped. I'm worried about the layering, how we're going to get that correct. And I think we're just going to have to layer it how we think best.
A logic.
Yeah.
I have a logic.
Meat on top?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a base on the bottom that's going to cook, the juices are going to drip
Run down.
but also they're more sturdy from the heat that will come from beneath coals, but also remember hot rocks from above. So a bit of both, kind of meet in the middle.
The layering does differ recipe to recipe, but generally it's pineapple, then meat, and starchy items on the bottom.
Okay.
Well played.
Starchy items on the bottom,
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. They're big leaves.
They are big leaves, but they're also long and thin. They're not particularly wide. So we're going to have to think about our origami on this.
And so that it fits into an oven.
Which is sat behind you, ready for use.
I'm going to get them cut and then we'll soften them because a little bit of heat softens these nicely.
So what are you doing here, Ebbers?
Just releasing some of the natural oils from banana leaf, which just makes it more malleable. It's more likely to bend and fold than crack at that point. You can see it even changes colour as those oils come out. There's probably a quicker way of doing this, like a blowtorch, but again, you waft it over a fire or some embers, and already the smell that comes off this.
It's amazing.
This is more than just greaseproof paper, right? This adds something.
I mean, we've used this quite often, but I've never had it be so prevalent than when we were in Singapore and we had the fish head curry and in banana leaves.
Sam's curry.
It was absolutely incredible. Lovely stuff, Ebbers.
Right,
Show us the other side, because that is so, it's so satisfying.
a little bit of that, a little bit of that, a little bit of that.
So you're on top with your kale.
Now they're an island nation, so they've got good access to sea, water and salt mineral deposits. A little bit of pork, breast, or I would want to do that really.
Yeah. Now, considering we were given black pepper specifically, I'm going to go fairly heavy.
Okay. Mike, as we're doing this and going through the motions, I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Going through the motions sounds like you're not having fun, Ben.
No, I think as trial and error, we're going through the motions.
Okay.
And I'm liking what I'm seeing, but I think we might do a second one and then maybe we can have a compare.
Okay.
Because I think the second one might be to do what we've just done, but mix it in a bowl with the coconut milk before, so it's all bound in seasoned coconut milk, rather than just what we're going to do is spoon a bit on top and hope it all mixes up.
Okay.
It's generally really quite impressive how close you're getting.
I've done similar with rabbit on
Okay.
an open fire. It didn't have banana leaf. I don't know if they'd have had a microplane. But what I do know is they will be people of resource and they will use everything, like we talk about the coconut and palm trees and the like. There's lots of juices going to come out of the chicken, the pineapple, the kale as it cooks.
I mean, that's the whole thing covered.
Yeah,
So I think that's
fine.
probably...
It's the seasoning, and I think the second one maybe we'll do a bit more, and then we've got a comparison. Now, this is
Ember's
a bit
coggers are
origami.
turning.
definitely a way of doing this.
You need El Burrito Monster
You're
in, don't you?
burritoing it at the moment. Yeah.
And in my head,
Nice.
what I would do is that, and then with some twine or similar, wrap it up like a parcel.
So that it stays.
So that it stays. Now over fire and ember, that's more likely to burn, but in an hour oven it won't. But it could also be like a sisal made from coconut fibres or palm fibres. Again, I'm thinking resourcefulness. You know the little wire rack that you get in a microwave that just lifts stuff off? I feel like if there was something just to lift it off the base and it sat in there, and then we put the lid in and put it in the oven, it's going to be an oven inside an oven, but it's not going to be contact point with the really hot bit.
So it is kind of gonna.
It might not be necessary.
Got a toast rack?
Yeah, ideal, mate. we might not need it. We might not need it. Maybe what we do instead is
You're going to make a. Yeah.
make a trivet
Make a trivet.
out of some other hardy bits. What I didn't want to do is add any liquid in there, so it's not going to steam. It's going to still get hot. That goes in, lid goes on, and the whole thing goes into an oven. I've got no idea if we're any very close to it. Should we try a mixed one with coconut?
I think
Or
we
is our
should.
quizmaster happy?
Now, I think you should try another one for comparison.
Yep.
You've done amazingly. There's just a little bit of liquid that hasn't been used, and I just wondered, without giving it away, Ebbers,
Lime juice.
Lime juice.
Yeah.
Must be lime juice.
I put the zest in and I was going to hold it back to like at the end for the freshness, for the zing, but I imagine it's also a nation that do an awful lot of the equivalent of ceviche, whatever the word would be
Curing
in that
with
part of
acid,
the world, but
yeah.
curing seafood with acid.
So yeah, traditionally you squeeze the lime in and then chuck in the rest of the lime in.
That also makes great sense.
I'm staggered at how well you've done because I feel like I've told you nothing.
Legitimately, I love these challenges for this reason, because once you are equipped with a basic understanding of food and culinary technique, you just apply it to different ingredients the world over. The seasonings are key. I don't know whether this would benefit from other seasonings or more or less pepper. Until you try it, you don't really know, but I think this one might even be better.
Well, you've doubled your chances of getting it right as well, which is super sneaky but also pretty smart. Into the Dutchie.
Oh, double Dutch.
Double Dutch and into a hot oven or over a hot fire.
So how long do we think that's going to take?
I'd say an hour and a half,
An hour and a half.
because I reckon it's going to take at least 40 minutes to get up to temperature.
And then cook through.
And it's got chicken on the bone, it's got pork, I reckon 90 minutes.
Well, would you like to move on to your second dish then?
Let's clear down.
Let's clear down, get rid of some chicken. And do
Yeah.
exactly that.
3 lifelines still intact. Tu pela keke. That is how to say dish number 2. In Tok Pisin, which is the most commonly spoken language.
Tu pela keke.
And the dish you're making is called saksak.
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 So lots of repetitions. We've
Yeah.
had mumu and now saksak.
Saksak.
Okay. And what does that translate to?
I think it's ingredients in banana leaf cooked.
Yeah. But those ingredients being coconut milk, tapioca pearls and banana. In
Yeah.
banana leaf. So how are we...
Now, tapioca pearls, we are only really familiar with them here in boba tea.
Yep.
Really. But it's the starch that's going to cook out in liquid, which presumably is that, and then with some of that.
But like mixed in? Like mushed and mixed? Or sliced
that
or...
that's then served with that.
Yeah.
And that could be grilled or roasted or whatever.
Or steamed
Or
in
that
Yeah.
served with that. Or does it need all three? These are our options.
So traditionally, this would be made using sago, S-A-G-O, which is a starch taken from the centre of palm stems. Very hard for us to get hold of. We've given you tapioca pearls, which will do the same job.
Okay.
Now, Jay, in the spirit of gameplay, we could SOS Chef, but the problem is he knows the recipe because he's researched it. That feels like giving in. He's just going to come and do it.
Yeah.
Or do we take one of the other 2 clues that means we can carry on guessing?
So I like the idea of unpixelating a picture.
And it'll be the final picture that we then
Yeah.
decipher back.
Can we see the pixelated picture of this dish first? So we
Absolutely.
can decide whether the unpixelated version is going to be...
Good.
Yeah.
Good clarification.
There you have
You
the
sure that's not
pixelated
definitely of this
version.
dish?
pixelated version of this dish.
I think Barry sent me one of these photos before. I didn't ask him to.
For you at home, this is the unpixelated version.
So it's a whole banana.
Or, if we've been given these, and you mix that with water, you end up with something that's mochi-esque, except mochi's made with rice. Steamed in the banana leaf. The green has got to be the banana leaf.
Yeah.
So whatever this is, I'm saying steamed.
Are you losing your lifeline?
Well, look, we don't know, but we don't want Kush coming in and doing it.
We might need that.
We might need it, but it seems simple enough that we could. I think unpixelate.
Yeah, sure.
So if we know what we're aiming for, then we can try and work it backwards. If not, we've still got a Kush or a redacted
You
recipe.
should never swipe on somebody else's photos, but I'm guessing it's just one way or
Swipe
other.
left.
Oh,
There we go. That looks like a gelatinous dumpling made from tapioca, sago, and enough liquid to turn it into something. Does it need water as well? Would they give us water as an ingredient? We've got more coconut milk.
yeah.
Clue.
What did you do with your
Oh, water.
tin opener?
Yeah, in order to get the end result using the tapioca pearls, you will need water.
Should we measure it? Because they might give us ratios, and if we haven't measured it, we're stuck. So I don't think we need all of that. Instantly softer.
Yeah. Is that starch coming out of it?
Yeah. Pasty. It's not cooked, but now pasty. Now you could mix that.
With coconut.
Well, there's no banana served on the side, so it must be in it.
It's got to be in it.
Is it just mashed banana, coconut, and sago, and we're using tapioca?
Yeah. You'll start with one and see how we get on.
Yeah, we can always mash another. Sweet or savoury? Do we think this dish is? I mean, we always associate banana with sweet, but I'm also thinking it could just be a pinch of salt and quite savoury.
I mean, if it's,
we put pineapple, which has sweet in the other thing, is it just sweet or savoury?
I mean, if it's natural banana, natural coconut, that's to me is naturally sweet.
I can tell you that this dish is said to have originated from the coastal regions of Papua New Guinea, remain popular in the lowland areas of the country, and is commonly eaten for lunch and dinner.
Oh, so it's savoury.
In the same way that a plantain, not the same as a banana, is used. I'm glad you opened this without shaking the can.
Yeah.
So we can use just the really unctuous coconut milk to start off
the cream side of the milk. And then all of the banana?
Yeah. Sweetness of banana, pinch of salt. We're not really going to want to be able to taste this up front because the tapioca's not cooked. We think that sugar is something that's only kept for desserts, and yet we'll commonly eat burgers in brioche buns, which are incredibly sweet.
Yeah.
So that sweet element is not necessarily a bad thing, even in a savoury item.
Yeah?
Good on banana, finishes on coconut.
Yeah.
That's even wetter to wrap into our banana leaf. Now, same.
No, saksak.
I'm guessing steamed, just because I think that wants wet cook, not...
Oh, well, 100%.
Very few grains want roasting.
I will give you this. 100% it has to be steamed. Jay, in all honesty, had this just been you in the kitchen, not stood next to a chef of many years of experience and knowledge, how close do you think you would have legitimately come to where you ended up with the two dishes?
With the mumu, I feel like that was a fairly simple process of what to do, and it could go either way. You either mix all of the ingredients together and then put it into the leaf, or you separate them all and do it that way. But that felt quite logical to me. When we come to using like tapioca or the sago, I'm well out of my depth. Looking at the photo of that gelatinous thing, I don't know how to get there.
I would have instantly thought mochi, but then thought about the process of making mochi and then going, well, do you have to soak the tapioca and then heat it and spread it out and stretch it and then wrap it?
But this is why I love traveling the world through food, because you discover not just new ingredients and dishes, but new cooking methods. I never use banana leaf.
No.
Could I use banana leaf? Maybe. Every time I eat it, do I enjoy it? Yeah. So why don't I use it more? It's because I don't have the applications that I can then think about.
But the ability to travel the world, as you say, through flavours, without leaving your postcode is the joy of this series. And then sometimes you get to travel and experience it on the ground too, and that's arguably even better. But you can always start from home. Actually, that's probably enough, Jay. We just do one of yours and one of mine.
Fine.
An inch or so of water in a pan, and then we'll stick a lid on just so we can see inside. The steam's already coming through. How long does it take to steam tapioca starch?
We'll find out.
20, 25 minutes? We opted to do all three. We can test one of them after maybe 20 minutes because we have no idea. But basically, steamed all the way through, the tapioca starch will swell and set with the sweetness of banana, the creaminess of coconut, and we'll see.
And if you're from Papua New Guinea, or you've been to Papua New Guinea, or you've just eaten these dishes, how much are you shouting at us in the comments right now?
Okay, lads, your mumu is out of the oven. Your saksak has steamed. Let's have a look and a taste.
Look at that.
You had 2 lifelines to spare, so if you're not close,
It's
you've
only our own
yourselves
fault.
to blame.
Maybe we could get Cuisine now.
So first one is the wet mixture. And how long did this end up cooking for, Ebbers?
It was about the 90 minutes and we steamed it for about 25 and they've had time to cool. So when we unwrap those, hopefully they're not sticky.
Crisped up some of the banana leaf on the outside. Nice and steamy in the middle. Hello.
This is all about experience. What I did was use a temperature probe to check before we uncut it. But I guess once you know what you're doing, it's just experience. I mean, the smells are good. That combination of fragrance of banana leaf, but pineapple is the first thing I smell.
Yeah. Pineapple, coconut, banana leaf makes it feel very tropical. Tropical, yeah.
Boys, would you like to have a look at what this dish should have looked like?
So it's been taken out of the banana leaf and put on a plate.
Served on a, yeah.
But otherwise,
I mean,
it's maybe bigger chunks.
slightly bigger chunks, but I mean, with those ingredients that we had and the instructions that we had about cut stuff into bite-sized pieces.
Couldn't have gone far wrong.
No.
I'm
Pretty
fascinated by how
accurate.
it tastes. Side-by-side comparison. That was a bit of coconut milk over the top, lots of black pepper. That was all mixed in. It's definitely more visible on that one, and on the bone is always going to be, I think, better. Cheers.
They're nice.
What does it taste of?
Coconut and pineapple and black pepper together. Like, I went heavy on the black pepper, and I
Yeah.
don't know if that was right or not, but it is a lovely combination.
And it's quite earthy because of the black pepper and the kale, but most of the other things there are sweet. So sweet potato and pineapple. And whilst coconut milk isn't sweet necessarily,
Yeah.
It gives you
we
the
always
sense of-
associate it with sweet things. So really lovely.
What I find fascinating is that if you gave me the same ingredients, but without the hints in terms of how to cook it, I would end up with something completely different.
Yeah.
Because I think our usual method would be, well, you want to get some colour on the sweet potatoes, or you want to get some colour on the
Yeah.
taro, you know, those
Even
kind
on
of
the
things.
pineapple, yeah.
To
Like,
steam all of it is a really unusual texture combination that
For
we
us,
wouldn't
yeah.
usually eat.
Yep. I like the fact, in all honesty, that it's quite simple. It tastes of the ingredients you see. So it's not masked by a huge amount of other spices or spicing. It's just nicely seasoned. A little bit of the lime is coming through. But otherwise, it's just delicious.
according to our research and the help from the community, you've got this pretty much spot on. The mixing the coconut through was the more traditional method, but as we've discovered, pretty much the same output.
Yeah.
And that was without a lifeline. However, we did use a lifeline on this. Should we open
Let's
that?
have a look at that.
My worry about this one is that the finished result looks so different from the ingredients that you put in it. Whereas that, obviously, you put the ingredients in, it comes out, it looks fairly similar. That's got to be a gelatinous.
You're hoping it's a shiny,
Yeah.
almost like a dumpling. You've done it.
Oh.
More translucent.
It's
I wouldn't
pretty
say.
much.
Well, I don't know what consistency, but
No.
it's kind of dumpling-esque.
What does it
Sticky,
taste like?
Sweet.
So banana, sago.
That's really fun.
In what way?
It's a texture we are less familiar with here, but it is kind of bouncy, slimy, chewy, but it has that nostalgic sweetness of banana.
Bouncy, chewy banana is exactly how I was going to describe
Got
that.
to have some of this.
And I think slimy, but not in a negative way, not in a oh damn, it's slimy. It's just a little bit
No, it's great. That is a great texture.
gelatinous, starchy. The banana and the coconut is really comforting.
So you used the lifeline on this. There was
Yep.
only one step really, that you did differently from the research that we did, and that was that the coconut milk wasn't actually incorporated with the sago and the banana, but actually warmed and then poured over the top at the end.
Oh, so it's a serving.
So
It's
yeah,
a custard.
Yeah, it's
Coconut milk custard, basically.
coconut clotted cream.
Yeah.
but the fact that the coconut still comes through really strongly
Yeah.
in the flavour, I don't think.
I mean, it might have changed the texture, and it might have changed, like...
It might have been a bit firmer, perhaps.
Yeah.
Well, firmer and or just inverted commas creamier, because you've got all that coconut cream through it, rather than stirred into it at the end.
But it still really holds its form. And like you said, it's a really unfamiliar texture to us, but really satisfying. Yeah, fun is a great way of describing it.
I feel like if a hand of bananas sneezed, that's what it'd be. It's got that almost snotty, mucus-like texture.
Ebbers!
But,
We're having such a lovely conversation.
and what I said before, really unusual to us, but quite delicious.
Amazing effort, boys.
Always good fun,
Really
these.
well done. Really fascinating to watch all unfold. Think you did amazingly with the clues. Would you like to spin on the cues?
Yeah.
You can't because there's only one, it's guitar. That's what we'll be doing next.
Simple.
We'll see you in the next video then.
If you enjoyed watching this video and you'd like to see more, make sure you give this video a like. Send us any suggestions for Qatari dishes down below. We'll get in touch and then we can start building out what mystery dishes these guys are going to attempt next time.